First, we pledged to open up the process, to find common ground for the good of the country. If you look at how we are wrapping up our work for the end of the year here, we have done just that. 21st Century Cures, the National Defense Authorization Bill, the Water Resources Bill. These initiatives all went through the committees. They're all bipartisan, and they're all House-Senate agreements. That is how we should do things here. It's important because that's exactly how things should work. The most overarching thing we set out to do, going all the way back to our retreat in Baltimore almost a year ago, was that we would raise our gaze. We would go from being seen as simply being an opposition party to being a proposition party. And with 7 out of 10 Americans unhappy with the direction our country is headed, we felt we had a duty, a moral obligation, to offer our fellow citizens a better way forward. And that's exactly what we did. We did not just check the box to win an election, and we didn't do this so I could just pump a website, better.gop, 1,000 times with you. The idea was if we actually won the election by campaigning on solutions and ideas, we would be ready to govern. And here we are. We are ready to hit the ground running, and we need to hit the ground running. We gave the people a very clear choice. And now the people have given us very clear instructions. Deliver results and deliver relief. Relief from Obamacare. This law is hurting families, and it's only going to get worse. Relief from this broken tax code that is costing us jobs, competitiveness, and growth. Relief from overreach and needless regulations that are crushing livelihoods and industries across this country. That is what a unified Republican government will be about. It will be about helping our people reach their potential and making America great again. So 2016 was about raising our gaze. 2017 is going to be about doing big things for our country.
As the leader talked about those successes, we have a few things to finish this week. One happened to be the water resources and the continuing resolution. But there's one bill I want to highlight, and I also want to highlight the individual who made this happen, Cathy McMorris Rodgers. One of the parts that she has done so well within our conference and really encouraged others when it came to innovation. But more importantly, how do you make innovation a part in healthcare better for veterans? Something that she has fought for quite some time on a bill for Faster Care for Veterans Act. It's on suspensions. And it's going to pass very highly, but that doesn't mean it comes across to make it happen easily. It's something she cared a great deal about, to bring innovation to the VA system that dearly needs it. I want to congratulate her, and I want to thank her, because she never gave up. She worked with both sides of the aisle. And it takes the innovation of America, applies it to an agency that needs change to actually provide care better for the veterans. You might write a lot about some things that are happening this week, but if there's one thing I think you should actually focus upon, is a bill by Cathy McMorris Rodgers. I yield back.
This week we're going to finish a lot of important work for the country, responsibly funding the government, hopefully getting the 21st Century Cures bill through the Senate and to the President's desk after an incredibly strong vote over here in the House last week. And then, of course, the water infrastructure bill, which has a lot of important priorities to keep this country moving forward. But as we finish this important work, there's a lot of excitement about the work ahead for next year. The things that it's going to take to get the country moving again, to get the economy back on track, to get regulations under control, to return health care back to families and doctors instead of bureaucrats in Washington. And there's one more piece of the puzzle that needs to be completed this weekend, and that is the last election for the United States Senate, which is going to happen this Saturday in Louisiana. I was with our incoming Vice President Mike Pence over the past weekend in New Orleans. He came down to have a rally for our candidate John Kennedy. And there's one more clear contrast in that runoff between somebody who's going to work with us to pass the things that are necessary to get the economy moving again versus somebody in Foster Campbell who wants to continue fighting for the big liberal Washington knows best approach. So there is one more opportunity for the American people to speak out with this election in Louisiana. I encourage everybody to get out and vote in Louisiana so that we have a strong turnout and bring one more ally in that fight to help us get our country back on track for the exciting things that we're going to do next year.
Over 2 years ago, people all across this country were outraged to learn that veterans had died waiting for an appointment at their local VA. And soon after that, a tech company approached me. They were pretty excited. They had technology, that off-the-shelf technology that was allowing them to book appointments in doctor's offices all across the country within 24 hours. And as a side note, the founder and CEO of this tech company actually was hesitant to even approach me about this because he didn't think he wanted to deal with the federal government. But over the weekend, a couple of his employees who were veterans put together a proposal for the VA. Now, unfortunately, the VA had its own idea. Their approach meant spending more money, waiting 7 years, which meant the veterans would have to continue to wait. During this holiday season, we should all remember those who are serving and defending our country all over the world. And one of the best ways that we show our gratitude to those who have served and are serving is to make sure that they get the care they need when the time comes. So I'm excited to say that legislation we've been working on, the Faster Care for Veterans Act, is going to be voted on this week on the House floor. And it ensures that veterans will have the same options to schedule their appointments that people have in doctor's offices all across the country. It's a step towards making sure that our veterans could go online, use an app, or if they want to call the 1-800 number, that option would still be there for them. We're showing the VA how innovative technology, already available to millions of people, can work to help our veterans get the care that they need in a timely fashion. It's just one example how we're thinking big, reimagining what's considered business as usual in Washington, D.C., and making sure that people are at the very core of everything that we do. And we're going to start also by giving people access to quality health care that they can afford, that returns decisions to their rightful place between patients and doctors. And we're going to work together with the new administration to change the status quo, listen to people all across this country, and offer real Republican solutions for better health care and beyond.
Thank you. I think the one thing as a service member and still in the Air Force, looking at what Kathy has done in talking about this today, is bringing those of us who serve a promise of hope to come. Is a promise that we have, as the GOP have said, we're going to put people first. We're going to have better ways, better solutions that start from the ground up. Our constituency is one of the American people who gets up every morning and all they want to do is raise their families, go to work, do the things that they know that they have, and have a government that allows them to do that. I am so proud of what we have done and that Kathy has put forward and the leadership team has put forward. As a veteran, this is something that is important. As someone who's looked at other veterans as we've served in Iraq and other places, this is the kind of ideas that makes America a better place, and that's what the GOP is offering, and that's what we're going to continue to offer in the new year.
All right. It's pretty exciting to be part of this leadership team in the next first 100 days of this coming Congress, when we're going to hit the ground running. Over the next several weeks, all of our committees, the Appropriations, Ways and Means, Energy and Commerce, you could name, are hard at work in drafting the legislation for tax reform, for healthcare reform, for regulation reform, and just glad to be part of the team that's pushing the policies forward to make our country great again.
Does anyone have any questions?
Isn't she one or two? Jason.
Yeah.
How do you see the fiscal 18 spending process going along in regular order given the delays on spending in this year?
Our appropriators will get right back to work early in the year to put together an appropriation bill to close out the fiscal year. The date that we have in this bill was largely to accommodate the Senate's crowded schedule, given all the confirmations they have. And then we'll go back to regular order with a regular budget resolution later when we do a budget resolution, and then we'll go back to regular order with appropriations. So the appropriators will get back to work to write that bill to replace the April 28th deadline, and then we'll be back in regular order.
So April 28th then is when you're going to start the fiscal
Well, I don't know when
process? Isn't that kind of late?
No, the appropriators will get to work right away. It's just the deadline in this bill is April 28th. So we will have an appropriations process in place to close out the rest of FY17, and then we will have to pass our budget resolution to have the FY18 process, which will be back on track for regular order.
Speaker, the president-elect has talked about 35% tax on companies do broader tax reform next year. But is that consistent with your view on tax policy, or are you concerned at all by that?
It's consistent with our goal to make American businesses and American products more competitive in the global economy. And we believe the best way to achieve that goal is through comprehensive tax reform. The problem we have, largely speaking, is that we tax American businesses at much, much higher tax rates than our foreign competitors tax theirs. Therefore, they're winning and we're losing. We're losing headquarters of companies because of our tax code. If you make money overseas, you can't even bring it back home to reinvest it because of our tax code. So we think the real solution here is comprehensive across-the-board tax reform, which is what we're going to be hitting the ground running on and working on in early 2017. I think tax reform is the answer to that problem. The guy with the beard. Who it's a good beard. Yeah, I'm jealous. Yeah, I had a shaved mine the other day.
This year's unfinished business, you didn't mention the energy bill, that fitting conference. I understand they were close to a deal on something very small. Is that
Final decision's not been made, but that has not gone as well as the other things that we're looking at, like WERDA and the CR. Very soon. Casey.
Was it prudent for the president-elect to call the president of Taiwan?
It's prudent for him to take congratulatory calls, absolutely. I spoke with the president of Taiwan when she was transferring planes in Miami a couple months ago. It is prudent for the president-elect to take congratulatory calls. I think there's a lot of much ado about nothing about this, and I think for him to not take a congratulatory call would in and of itself be considered a snub. So I think everything's fine.
Did he go too far then with the tweets?
I'm not going to get into tweets. You think I'm going to sit here and comment on the daily tweets? I'm just not going to be doing that. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.